Shibani's not much of a talker. So I find sometimes when we're having a conversation, it's really just me talking at him.
Which tells you that I'm a very good listener.
It's okay. You don't have to be polite. You can tell them the truth.
She's perfect.
I think I'll answer it for him since I'm the one that does the talking. I think he has to have a lot of patience because I'm very feisty and I don't think before I speak.
The conversation was always around about, there were predominantly male directors. There were very few female directors. Even when I started making my own films, I remember I did my first film in 2000. Zoya was way ready before me to direct the film. But she didn't direct her first film until 2009. You know, it was way more difficult for her to do it.
I remember when I first started out on my journey of being an IPL anchor, that was a little bit tough because it felt like no matter how much I researched and how much I watched and how much I threw myself into learning about this sport and anchoring this sport, what I was wearing seemed to be the most important thing, and how I looked seemed to be the thing that people focused on.
Exactly.
And there were times where I was told that you don't need to know so much.
Hello everybody, I'm Rudrani and welcome to Zoom Speak Easy, creating a world of badass women, and of course the creators and the team who have always told us such exciting stories. I am with the team of Dabba Cartel. Thank you for doing this. Like I said, creating a world of badass women, doing some bad things. Which is, I say it in that way because it's always exciting to see a world beyond how women have been portrayed on screen, and of course this is one of them. Hitesh, can you tell me, how did you look at this vision of creating something like this along with Shibani when it came to you? What did you think is going to make it stand out from the stories that we've already seen?
Yeah, I think that actually was my, the first thing that had attracted me to the story itself was that it was about women who are normal people, who are not criminals. And I don't think our intent was to portray women in a way that they can also, you know, be mafia dons or criminals.
Not an inspiration.
What I really thought was very interesting and unique when Shibani, Farhan and all we were discussing in the very beginning was that this is a story of normal people. You know, they're just everyday people who are busy with their everyday lives, and how their lives get entangled, and then the choices that they're forced to make and how that shapes up their lives. I think that to me was a very unique thing, and I don't think that something like that we had seen in our screens till then. So I think that was my beginning and initiation into the story, and I actually think that is a very interesting and exciting thing about the story.
Shibani, it's very interesting. This is, first of all, break a leg as you say it, because this is your first time as a creator. Again, I was talking about writers and the women, you know, the writer's room, right? And I want to understand, what did you, being a first time creator, what were the challenges that you went through also creating something like this? And also, like I was talking about the female gaze and the importance of it.
I mean, there are obviously many challenges when you're making a show, and there are many different stages of the show making process. For me, it was about kind of absorbing and learning as much as I could through every single stage. Every single stage was new to me. Sure. You can spend a lot of time on set, but when you're on the other end of it, it's a completely different experience. And so I was really grateful to, obviously, Hitesh as a director and the producers that we worked with that really took the time to kind of guide me through each process, because it was a huge learning and there was so much that I was unaware of. I think that when we talk about female-led stories, I mean, it would be great if we can one day get to the point where we think of stories as just stories and not emphasize on the fact that there are women-led stories. And I think, you know, the contribution of people, whether you're writers, creators, directors, the contribution of people in general is really important. I feel like you have to understand the story and you have to understand the characters. It's not necessarily just about understanding the gender. Yeah. We do have 6 women in the lead, but we have a female who is a part of the writer's room. I'm female, I'm a creator, but we also have a director who's male and who's very good with, you know, the female gaze and who understands these characters and their nuances and their emotions really well. You can put things on paper and you can then imagine and visualize what it will be, but you need someone to carry forward that vision. And we were talking about this yesterday in interviews, that Hitesh has managed to really draw out relationships so beautifully. And you've seen 3 episodes.
Yes.
So even in the 3rd episode, there's a particular relationship that even when I read on paper, I thought, oh God, is this gonna feel like a stereotype? Is this gonna feel like something that we've seen before? And I remember discussing this with Abbas, who is the creative producer on the show, and thinking that Hitesh has brought this out in such a beautiful, delicate way that I don't even think that he understands how beautiful and delicate it is. We need people to understand what the vision is and understand where these characters are going, what their trajectory is. And sorry, I'm giving you a really long answer. But Hitesh is also somebody who drove me crazy in the beginning because he would just have question after question after question when it came to these characters, and it was like, I've answered all of your questions, how can you still have more questions? So he really dives deep into it, you know, and so I think that takes something special when you're looking at it a certain way.
Sure. You know, like you asked me, of course I did see the 3 episodes, and one thing that you always notice in the storylines of all the women, most of the women, let me put it that way, is the fact how unheard they feel. And about the female voice, which is what my first question was. Because they are women, they were not being taken seriously in the rooms, whether it's by their spouses or it's in their workplaces. Their gender was a factor, which is actually a case in our country in most of the times, right? Yeah, I'd want to know how important that aspect was to bring it out so authentically in that story. I'm sure because you're a creator, you see that in everybody's thread, you will see how unheard they feel, and which is, I think, very relatable for a lot of women. Also, have you felt that way as ever, and how have you dealt with a situation like that?
It was important to bring it out, and I think it was important to bring it out in a very subtle, nuanced way. I think it was important to not have it be so on the nose. See, the journey of these women is, as Hitesh said, they're not from a world of crime. So taking them to this place, we have to kind of justify the motivation, and we have to kind of show where they've come from and what they're kind of going through. And as you've seen in the episodes, we don't have much time. So it was really important to handle it in a way where you kind of feel this journey with them. You know, it doesn't just come through dialogue, but it comes through the feeling of what these characters are going through. And there is always this need to kind of make a point when you're telling female stories. But this is just a story about these women. You know, there isn't a larger message here. I mean, they end up joining a drug cartel, so it was not something that it's not supposed to be an inspirational story. But it is a story of these particular women from this housing society, middle-class women who go through something very specific, right? You're not taking men who are from a world of crime and you're not showing that emotion differently. So it was important for Hitesh to show this emotion. And each one has a different story and a different journey. So we had to really look at each one, where they're starting off, where they're going to. Varuna was a little bit more of a journey. Mala was a bit of an easier journey. So you have to handle each relationship differently, and I think that's come out really well. But yes, you want to kind of feel what they're going through and see what they're going through and what their hardships are. As far as my situation is concerned, I mean, yes, I think I haven't felt it so much, if I'm being honest.
At workplaces, maybe?
No, and if I have, I don't necessarily feel as though it's because I'm a woman. I felt that maybe sometimes it's been a struggle because of my lack of experience, or maybe because of what I bring to the table, or because I don't know enough. But I've never really felt like, oh, it's because I'm a woman. I remember when I first started out on my journey of being an IPL anchor, that was a little bit tough, because it felt like no matter how much I researched and how much I watched and how much I threw myself into learning about this sport and anchoring this sport, what I was wearing seemed to be the most important thing, and how I looked seemed to be the thing that people focused on.
Exactly.
And there were times where I was told that you don't need to know so much. You don't need to sound so smart. Just talk about the energy. And I thought,
stay pretty.
I mean, in an indirect way, yes. But I never felt as though that kind of direction was coming to my male counterparts. And also this whole thing of, right, I'm a female presenter when I'm not just a presenter. You know, so you face it here and there, and I feel like change is happening. But I think, I mean, I've been lucky enough to not have to experience it so much.
Yeah. Continuing on the subject, Farhan, you've been such an ally, right, to women for a long time now, you know, with whatever you've done. Stronger Voices I still remember, and I will always admire for you because during the Me Too movement, among the very few men who outrightly came and wrote that. Some might call it this is the basic decent thing to do, but you know that's not how it works here. So I will always admire you for that. But you go beyond that. I've seen you pick up these, giving women, you know, very interesting roles in a lot of Excel films. You know, there has been that, and women and actors you've worked with have always said it's a safe place and we feel empowered when you work with Excel. My question here is to say that how do you look at this gender parity conversation in the industry today after so many years of observation, you being among the strongest voices also?
It's not, again, it's not something that there's two aspects to it. I mean, one of course is the aspect of in society, when you see certain incidents take place or a certain mindset taking root, and if you need to stand up and challenge it or raise awareness about it, that I feel is a responsibility that all of us, man, woman, everybody has to kind of right certain wrongs, you know, or kind of create, clear the air of any kind of disinformation or, I don't know, like heavy kind of patriarchy of any kind. I mean, that's a responsibility we all have. But when it comes to film, I think to start with, the people that I've seen when I was growing up, I've seen my mum, I've seen Shabana, you know, then I've seen Zoya working, Farah. So I've always had these very strong kind of female influences in my life when I was growing up, and especially in film. And the conversation was always around about, there were predominantly male directors, there were very few female directors. Even when I started making my own films, I remember I did my first film in 2000. Zoya was way ready before me to direct a film, but she didn't direct her first film until 2009. You know, it was way more difficult for her to do it. And so those opportunities weren't coming easily for women. And I think that with time, and I think on that level, I mean, but again, because of her talent, Reema's talent, you know, Nitya, we worked with many different female directors, and it's not so much about giving them an opportunity because they are women, but it's really about because they're talented people.
Of course.
You know, and I'm glad that we got to give it as opposed to somebody else. You know, that's where it's at. And I just love it now. I mean, you go to set and there's, like, I mean, 50 to 60% of your crew is women who are out there making careers for themselves. And it's an incredible thing to see, you know. So, I mean, I feel like it's great to be a part of this evolution. You haven't started it, you know, but you're a part of it, and it's a really nice place to be at.
I just spoke to Reema and Zoya, and you mentioned them because both of them very vehemently said, it's a question that I asked them, and they said, I think nobody should touch or try remaking Zinadagi Na Milegi Dobara. Only we should. So I said, please don't give away the rights in that case. And I think, I said, please don't ever do that. And then, of course, it takes me back to a very cute video that you all were giving hints. We are hoping for the sequel. You put out a very fun video when I think Abhay, you and Hrithik met, and I think Shibani, did you shoot that by any chance?
Yeah, she did.
I did. I was the creative director, DP.
It was always there for you.
And I was given no credit, you know.
You were not given credit.
That's where I felt like as a woman I was not given credit.
Wow, thank you for that.
I'm going to escalate this to Zoya because we were talking about the credits, and this is really unfair.
Yes.
But yeah,
Seriously. But see, इसमें भी writer का नाम कोई नहीं दे रहा है.
वो तो last preference है अभी भी. You gave us enough hints, so the internet obviously was like it's happening.
नहीं यार, I mean, see these things. I mean, you're just sitting around, you're having some fun. We actually came and sat down at this table, and it was just a strange coincidence that the book kept right beside us was the Three Musketeers. You know, so we were like, just oh my God, this is such a coincidence. So she said, let me just shoot something.
But we heard it's happening.
Sorry?
If there are rumors it's happening. I like how you went blank for a moment. You're like, sorry.
I don't know, maybe you'll hear the women talking about it in the show when they want to see it. I don't know. Let's come back to the show.
Okay. Okay, very interesting. But we hope it does. Congratulations, it was 7 years of being together for you all, right? Such a sweet post, Shibani, that you put up. Now, I want to know, it's been 7 years of the both of you being together, a quality that both of you admire in each other.
Hitesh will tell you this.
Just a quality that you admire and a quality that you tolerate in each other. And I want to ask this. Does it help when you know each other very well and you collaborate on something officially?
Oh, that's a question for Farhan.
No,
Really? I'm glad I asked.
On some level it does, of course it does. Actually, I must be honest, like I remember this was during maybe 2019 or 2020 when Shibani, I was working on Tufan at the time.
Sure.
And there were certain things that Shibani would speak to me about vis-a-vis the script, or then something that I'd give her to read, or we'd discuss something about the film. And I really did, from that's the time that I started telling her, you should really like do some kind of creative writing. She's still too lazy to sit down and write herself. So hopefully she'll work
Like,
on
I
that.
can't. She's already-
Yeah. So, but she can sit and discuss and keep and and talk about ideas for with a lot more stamina than I think most of us can. That she can.
He means that she won't shut up.
No, I'm just saying that you're very passionate and you can go on for longer discussing an idea than.
It's opposite, right? You'd rather write. than
Yeah, I
do
would
that.
much rather write. Much rather write.
But I feel like I've worked on this project with a lot of patient men.
That's
No, it's true.
The two of them I see.
See how quiet they've gone. Hitesh, Farhan, Abbas, Qasim. I mean, I think at some point, not at some point, in many points, I've had meltdowns and been feisty, and they're just all so patient and calm and handle it in such a
When
nice
you throw
way.
someone into the deep end of the pool to learn swimming,
Yeah.
you can't hold their hand, then you have to let them do what they have to do.
No, but I must add one thing
Yeah.
over here that, Shibani, of course, keeps praising me and everyone else on the team. But this quality that we are just talking about her, that the sheer tenacity that she has and the sheer passion that she has had, that I want, mere wala pink, jisko hum bolte na, so then she'll be at it. You fight, you go back, you sulk a little, then you create a joke. Then 2 days later, again she'll go back to Hitesh, what do you think? 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 I'm saying, Shibani, I'm thinking. And then because of that passion and, that, and so many discussions and so many this thing, but it is so exciting to have that kind of a person leading this entire exercise, because then you're also that driven, that she is asking whether it's a music piece or it's a small, like I remember so many instances, like, it's a 15-second music piece or a 5-second thing or a shirt color or a particular scene or a dialogue. So many times we have discussed one scene and just the dialogues for a week or 10 days, and I'm seeing, and then you see that, that passion that reflects. So it is not just someone coming over and making a show. The fact that she has been at it for so many years and so much of hard work has gone into every character. So, I am just coming in and say, Arey, this is a story of simple women who are not criminals. But the thought and just to give that shape is also very...
But it's also not easy. I don't think most directors have the creator hanging around everywhere all the time. So it's also not easy to kind of, as a director, you have your own vision. You need to take the show to a certain place. And when you have this so it's not, but it's a process where you all learn to kind of collaborate and work
Yeah,
together.
but the fact is that nothing works in watertight departments.
Yeah.
it doesn't.
It just flows from one to the
it's
other.
really creating art.
And there's high tides and low tides, as you just
Yeah,
told me.
yeah.
All of it can happen.
But
and then
but
create something.
once you're done, you only look back and it's actually been a really beautiful journey. But even when you look back, even the 1 or 2 moments that you may have, you only remember the good stuff.
Sure.
And that's what's so great about it.
The quality that you have to tolerate in each other would be...
Tolerate is a very
tolerate, I mean...
interesting word. Tolerate.
Tolerate.
Yeah,
Farhan is
tolerate.
not much of a talker. So I find sometimes when we're having a conversation, it's really just me talking at him. And that, it really, it's...
Which
I would
tells
say-
you that I'm a very good listener.
That's true. Would you
Sure.
would you have one to for her? Well, I'll stand it.
Sorry?
Do you have a quality like for her?
It's okay, you don't have to be polite. You can tell them the
I
truth.
don't have to be polite. No, she's perfect.
I think I'll answer it for him since I'm the one that does the talking. I think he has to have a lot of patience because I'm very feisty and I don't think before I speak, whereas
But
he
it's a good
does.
quality.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he thinks it's good, but I just erupt, and he doesn't. He's a let me think about this before I say something kind of guy. So it's very hard for him to handle things when I fly off the rails, which is pretty much every day.
Yeah, and ending with this question, Farhan, in the trailer launch, I remember that they said they were discussing about how this is pan-India content, right? Like everybody, the word pan-India and trying to make a pan-Indian film has become like a trend today. Everybody wants to make that one tentpole film and stuff like that. XL actually had done this way back when they were distributing for KGF, and that remains one of the most successful, if you want to say, pan-India franchises that we've done, right? That we've seen. After KGF 1, they wanted to make KGF 2, and they want to make it successful. I'm sure they'll want to make KGF 3 even more successful, like all of y'all. But does it become more difficult, more and more, once you see that something hasn't worked and everybody's just chasing to only replicate that in a bigger module to make more money? This is in the context of, working through KGF and now in the future as well.
Any piece of work that anyone makes, like they want it to be successful.
Sure.
And by successful, I mean liked and loved by people, right? That's what makes it successful. We won't get into discussing numbers, because if you don't love something, you're not going to watch it.
Sure.
Right? So that's what everyone wants. And when we've seen this is not a new phenomenon. I mean, we've seen this before with, genres coming up, and then the herd, this herd mentality of everyone following the success of one film, wanting to replicate its success, wanting to replicate the effect that it had on people. So this has been going on since, as far as we know that movies have existed. We had the romantic era, and then the angry young man came along, then after that we had the romantic era again, then it went into small town India, then it's gone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this keeps happening, and it's a part of creative evolution, because obviously sensibilities change, audiences are younger, they're coming up with different experiences. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of it all, whatever genre it is, wherever it's made, whatever language it may be in, it has to have something that connects with people. If that doesn't exist, you cannot go out to design a hit.
Sure.
If anyone can do that, then I don't know one single person who's not had a failure in his or her career. So nobody has the answer to that. You have an instinct, and you have, some basic knowledge and some common sense of what kind of is happening around you at the moment. But you have to tell good stories that people can somehow, in some kind of way, have some human reaction to. And if that doesn't happen, it doesn't
was actually.
Yeah, it did. People absolutely, they found that guy very fascinating in the film.
Yeah, they did. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
And unfortunately, we'll probably do a part 2 later. Thank you once again, and I'm looking forward to more such stories from all of you. Thank you once again.
Thanks, Hrithik.
Thank you so much.